Hello there, this is Brian, and here is Maverick, and welcome to another one of our outdoor adventures.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Husky Goes Hiking. In this episode, we'll be going through Frick's Trail in Hatfield, Pennsylvania. So before we get started, let's go ahead and click that like button and subscribe for future content if you haven't already. So this is a relatively new trail that was built just a few years ago here in southeast Pennsylvania. It's not a very long one. It's only about a 3-mile loop, well, out and back actually. But it's actually in really nice condition, being that it's new, of course. But it also, I think it's really good for families. It's not too difficult. It's relatively flat. But there's surprisingly a lot to see. And I say surprisingly because this is right in the middle of a semi-urban, more like a rural suburbia with Walmarts and malls pretty much in every direction. But somehow this little trail and park got tucked away, and it's pretty hard to hear or see too much else while you're out here, which is great. And also surprisingly, there's actually quite a bit of wildlife. In my times coming through here, I've seen herring, I've seen pretty much every type of small bird and whatnot. And as we can see up here, there's actually a small group of families. I believe 3 cars pulled in right before us and shot out to go play along this trail. So definitely recommended for small families and young hikers. Now this first stretch here is pretty short. It's probably only maybe a quarter mile long, maybe at best. But there actually is a nice little part you can wander off to here on the left that follows along a small tributary that feeds into the west branch of the Neshaminy Creek. And definitely really a nice little tributary. It's actually more of a small creek than probably a tributary. But quite a bit to see here on the left here. And now I'm going through looking at some blue jays. Like I said, there's quite a bit of wildlife. So there's herring and eagles and, gosh, so much here that you can kind of see cardinals and dozens of little birds. I don't even know what all of them are, but if you're into bird watching, this is actually a nice little park to come through. Now, if you break off to the left here, there's a small little crossing along the water that brings you to the other side, to the meeting house, which is a historical building in the area. I believe it was actually a Quaker meeting house. And there's actually quite a bit of Quaker influence in this area. Heck, one of the towns up north is even called Quakertown. And for those unaware, Quakers were a religious sect, still are, that are very peace-oriented, open-oriented people. And there's actually 2 sects of Quakers. There's the Christian Quakers and the agnostic Quakers, both having very similar values. Obviously, the Christian branch follows mostly just strictly Christianity, where agnostic is open actually to a wide variety of different religions. And they came over during the colonization of North America. And they came over with William Penn, who was the founder of Pennsylvania, and it was named with his namesake. Some famous Quakers include Annie Oakley, Daniel Boone, John McCain, who recently passed away, was also a Quaker. And believe it or not, James Dean was a Quaker as well, too. Part of my family lineage, my family on the Quaker side came over with William Penn when they first colonized Pennsylvania. Though I'm a mutt myself, I'm a mix of Polish Italian, and English. And I often joke that if you triangulate those three, England, Italy, and Polish, you probably end up somewhere around Munich, I think. So at this point, we're going to wander off the trail a little bit along this tributary. And I've actually seen some interesting things in here too. I saw a really large fox once. There's also coyotes, of course squirrels we have here of the gray variety, and lots of things. We see some mallards in here sometimes as well too. And this actually used to be just a completely natural trail at one point, and you can actually still follow parts of it further south along this trail. But this is the official area that they laid out and gave walking trails to. It's really nice though. It's really peaceful. As you can see, Maverick's just having a heck of a time through here. He is just sniffing away, looking and going everywhere. He is in his element here. And we do keep on going here a bit, and eventually we sort of get stuck through pricker bushes and stuff, so we have to kind of back out and get back onto the trail. But definitely a lot of fun down here. Yeah, it's funny, sometimes these little parks really surprise you, and these little trails really surprise you. And I know when I first started hiking, I'd always go, for the larger ones. I say, okay, well, this one's 20 miles, this one's 10 miles, this one has big elevation gains. You can see we just saw some ducks take off there. But sometimes these little ones are like little gems that you find that you just really enjoy. Now this trail is a multi-use trail, so you can use it with your 2 feet or you can take a bike through it. They do not allow motorized vehicles. I'm not sure, I haven't seen anything against horses here, though I don't know that it's really much of a horse trail. But and we can see there's some kind of burrow in here. Could be a fox, perhaps? Hard to tell. But I don't think there's anything in there now, otherwise we'd definitely be being pushed out. Could also be a groundhog too. I've seen groundhog burrows that deep as well. Of course, Pennsylvania is famous for groundhogs. The western side is home to Puxatawny Phil, which is, of course, the world's most famous weather predictor. Been out there a few times. And at this point, like I said, we're turning back and heading back to the main part of the trail. My little buddy is leading us back with his nose. And it's funny with dogs, their sense of smell is so strong, they use it almost as much as they use their eyesight. It's actually in conjunction. I think the closest that we can understand to it is that we taste with our taste buds, and we have some of the strongest taste buds of mammals. But we also, the smell of it has a huge impact on us as well. And it's really in conjunction with those two, and of course the visuals to an extent, that really kind of navigate ourselves there. And I think that's kind of how I view dogs, using their combination of their hearing, their smell, and their eyesight when out. And this is our one other chance to try to stay along the creek here and avoid the main path of the trail, which we're going to realize in just a little bit here is going to be a non-starter. So we're eventually going to call it after hopping over top of this tiny little tributary to the tributary and making our way back. So here we are back on the main sequence, and this is coming to the end of the first natural part of the trail. This actually opens up into a local development, which we have to cross through to get to the second part. Alright, and we're just going to speed through this little neighborhood here and get to the other side and get back to the rest of the trail. And it's just a quick little shortcut to it. It's not that long. It's probably maybe an eighth of a mile at best. Yeah, this is actually probably the bulk of the trail here. And this is in between an Orvilla road and it's like a little industrial park road. And along the left here, we have Twin Woods Golf Course, which is a 9-hole golf course in the area. It's been there a long, long time. And to the right up here, there is a building that I believe used to be a farmhouse, which was recently taken down, though its foundation is still over there. There are definitely signs all along here on the right saying that this is all private property, so not to proceed out in that direction. Which is a shame because there's actually quite a bit of open terrain out there. You could probably, well, you could probably get yourself in trouble in, but looks pretty good. Looks pretty fun, unfortunately. And then we're still following along that tributary here. And we are just continuing along, soldiering along our little journey here. Maverick saw some golfers over there. We got all excited, and just some people. Surprisingly, there's not a lot of people that use this little trail, which is a shame. But at the same time, it's good for us. And the trail itself is, gosh, it's just so pristine. It's amazing. Now, I think there's actually two parts to how this trail was developed. Part of it is they put in some type of, I don't know if it was a sewer line or a water line through here, which is probably how they cleared some of this. I know south of here, they put a lot of lines through in the last 5 years. So this could have been the path along there, which would explain that one little cover back there. But I see the only one I've actually seen on this trail, which leads me to believe that this is just a trail that they eventually went ahead and put together. Oh, and in case you have been wondering why this is called Frick's Trail, it was donated by a Peter Frick and formed the location of the meeting house as well as a local cemetery. And the original building was raised in 1882 and a new one was built in that year. And so that's why it's called Frick's Trail. It's in honor of him. And we're coming up along the end of the trail here again. And they actually recently built this huge complex on the right there. Not sure if it's a distribution center or what it is, but it's not really being used too much yet. And at this point, now if you follow along here, I'm just going to go through. We are pretty excited because there's a big sign here that says there's a connector trail that'll take you over to this other trail. I forget which street trail it is, but so we're pretty excited to check this out. And as we get to the end, we notice this funny little sign here, and I'm like, what do you mean there's no dogs allowed in this part? So we took that as our cue to head back and make this an out and back trail. Originally hoping this was going to be some type of loop, but did not work out that way. So anyway, this is going to bring us to the end of this hike. I may make a second part of this for the return journey. And if you enjoyed this video, please click that like button. It really does help out the channel, and we really do appreciate it. And of course, subscribe for future content if you haven't already. And we hope to see you again in a future video. And get out there, make your own adventures. And until we see you again, take care.